On the Racing Insiders this week, we go to Bahrain, the final event in the World Endurance Championship. We have comments from the Toyota team that won. We get some inside information on the United SportsCar Championship from our prototype expert, Peter Keane, and from Jim Daniels, who's our expert in the GT cars. We have some personal remembrances of an accident, a tragic accident that took the lives of actor Paul Walker and his good friend and business associate, Roger Road. And we hear from Michael Schumacher, arguably one of the greatest drivers of all time. Next on the Racing Insiders. Welcome back to the Racing Insiders, the only place in broadcasting where you're going to get sports car content every week. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Jeff Lepper is in Folsom, California. Let's go to the World Endurance Championship in Bahrain, the last event of the 2013 season, and a big breakthrough win for Toyota over the Audi program. Their first win of the year. They're maybe getting this hybrid technology up to speed. Jeff, what happened?
Very exciting race at the 6 Hours of Bahrain. Of course, Alan McNish, Tom Christensen, and Luke Duvall winning the championship, clinching that at Shanghai at the last round. Thank God they needed that, though. Had driveline problems and had a very rare DNF in the Audi, something that we hardly ever see from that Audi team. Not what we want to see, hopefully going into 2014 as well. Going to the GT Pro category, it was Jean-Marie Bruni and Tony Vilander clinched the manufacturers, and Bruno got the driver championship for AF Course Ferrari in this round. Leading up to that, it was Darren Turner leading in the Aston Martin, but they had an engine failure. The sister car also had an engine failure with about 2 hours left. That would allow Ferrari to clinch the GTE Pro category.
But it was the Toyota team that won. It was a major breakthrough for them. Let's hear from the winners.
It's a fantastic race. Really happy to win finally my first WEC race. Happy for the team to win a proper race. With Fuji it wasn't really a real victory, but now to beat everyone, and we were in the lead before the other guys had problems. A bit disappointed for car 7, with the engine failure, but really happy with this victory, and now we can go into the winter, work on the car of next year.
It's an amazing day today for us, first victory with Toyota. We had so bad luck the last few races since my crash in Sao Paulo. It was really bad. China was leading and no win, unfortunately, with a mechanical issue, so this weekend was our weekend.
So a fantastic win here today in Bahrain for the 6-hour race for the final round of the WEC, where finally I got to win my first race with Toyota Racing.
Jeff, it was a big breakthrough win. You talked about 2014. This is a good sign for Toyota that maybe the 2014 championship might be a little closer.
Well, you always want to end your season on a high, and Toyota did just that. They've been trying to develop this hybrid power. Heartbreak at Le Mans. We saw that huge crash with Anthony Davidson, a couple years ago. Not really what they want to see happen again. And it'd be interesting to see how this is going to play out with hybrid technology. We got the diesel technology from Audi. We have the hybrid from Toyota. Peugeot's out of the mix. I'd like to see them come back in. We reported it last week with Mazda making an LMP2 with their diesel power. All these different technologies coming in. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the 2014 season.
I hope that in the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship, there's some sort of the same emphasis placed on a new technology, green technology. And in my old age, maybe I'm starting to look at this a bit differently. Maybe the Nissan electric car, the Ziad car that they're preparing, maybe that's going to open some doors for us. Let's go right now to Peter Keane in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. They're our experts in the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship. Peter, first to you. What's happening in the prototype class? You're part of the Spirit of Daytona team. Had the big accident involving Richard Westbrook. Give us an update on what's happening.
Well, essentially, Bill, it's been a really tough week. The car we crashed at Daytona was a complete write-off. So Troy Fliss and the boys have been scrambling. We got a fresh chassis from Coyote is at the shop and just out of the paint booth, and it starts Monday, starting putting it back together. It's unbelievable that we wrote off a car that way with a tire failure, and it's just going to be a bunch of work to update the car. The one good part about it is we weren't going to update a car to a lot of the P2 specs or the new Daytona prototype specs, But now that we're starting from scratch, Troy's going to go ahead and put the paddle shift in and do carbon brakes and do the whole nut right now, you know, that we weren't planning on doing until after Sebring. So it will be a brand new chassis. It's 007, so we're going to go with a James Bond theme, and hopefully, you know, we're ready to go for the 24-hour. It just put the boys under, you know, way behind. We got to test 17th and 18th of December at Daytona, so it's a lot of stress on them.
You mentioned tires and the aero. There was some question in the investigation. Give us an update on what's happening with those two things.
Well, I know that Continental's working hard. We were seeing a lot of high tire temps, and the two tire failures from us and Action Express were both on the inside right rear, so that was being overloaded. So I know Continental's working hard in the lab, and they are, you know, constructing a new tire to take the loads. Essentially, we had 1,000 more pounds of downforce, and obviously those right rears just couldn't handle it with you know, all the excess load out there on the banking. So I guess the tire was marginal, and you know, Continental's going to work and try and get us a safe tire.
And the aero, are there any changes? I think that was a major concern in the investigation, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, with the aero, the only thing I've heard that they might do, I haven't seen anything official from United Sports Car yet, but you know, as part of the Delta Wing, it has a trap door, so kind of like a roof flap on a NASCAR. If the Delta Wing gets around backwards, then the trap door comes down and shuts the tunnel off, and then you wouldn't get the big lift. So I don't know if we're going to implement that or not. I mean, that's not official yet, but hopefully, I guess the biggest problem is not have tire failures at 190 miles an hour, and then, you know, it doesn't turn into a Cessna.
Jim Daniels, in the GT category, there are some drivers that are needing jobs, and tell me about give us an update on the GT side of the United Sports Car Championship.
There's a lot going on in GT and in the Continental Challenge. I want to make one comment to Peter. The opposite end of that spectrum is the P2 guys on the same tire can't get heat into them, and it's saying they're going to be able to quad stint them. So it's quite an enigma they got over on that side. I'm here to report that on the GT and Continental side, we got some favorable news. I'm going to start with the small bore cars. The big things that came up in the last couple of weeks is the departure of Freedom Autosport and iMoto. Now, both of those are saying they're finding drivers, etc., but the fact is Freedom's owners, Red Odosky and Derek Whitus, have decided to not drive. I think the team is in the place of long road racing, and they've got to find people for the seats or they'll be out. iMoto laid off their entire crew moving into the winter. Some people say it might be a crew retooling. Other rumors are that the team is leaving. But on a good note, longtime ST class and class champions Carl Thompson at Compass 360 has decided to jump in some Subarus, Bill. He's prepping 2 Subarus for the GS class, so he's making a step up. First time I think I've ever seen Carl run anything but a Honda, at least in the last decade or so.
Jim, let me jump in there. iMoto and Freedom have been crucial to the class for years. And is there any sign that they're leaving? Might be a warning sign, a red light to anybody?
Well, I hate to say that there's also some other teams that I'm not ready to report on that are also leaving that are pretty big names. 3 other ones, to be truthful with you. We don't really know. From the owners of Freedom, they say that they've been racing there a long time. They got other business interests that they need to tend to. I know that Tom Long is scrambling to get the cars rented, and we'll just have to see. iMoto's a different deal. As of right now, there's no test plan. The crew all have been laid off. And, you know, if you're going to be racing, you got to be ready to go this test here at the Roar here coming up soon. So who knows? Now, that's not the whole story up and down the paddock, though, because we've got Nissans changing hands, which we're not ready to announce. We can announce another show, but we've got some new Nissan teams that are going to be showing up with some serious effort in the GS class. And although Roush has left, there's been some other teams that come in and take up the slack, like the Aston Martins, etc. The biggest news, I think, coming out of the series is more to do with the schedule. Someone's thinking that the series is going to grow, Bill. They're going from the normal schedule up 2 races. They're going to be returning to Lime Rock this year. They're going to be returning to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, which we all affectionately know as Mosport. There's no Mid-Ohio on the event, but I think the first time ever, maybe Peter can correct me, we're going to be at Sebring with the Continental Tire cars. So it should be, someone thinks it's going to be very interesting, certainly as a decent mix and some new teams coming online, especially in the GS. Unfortunately, good buddies like Billy Johnson still doesn't have a ride, but he's working on something. And talk about not having a ride, we'll segue right over to the GT stuff for the two-door. Dane Cameron is still reporting that he hasn't firmed up anything, which is a surprise. I don't don't know if you guys will remember, but he was a standout in qualifying and in the race in that DP car for the Nanomakers. So I'm sure hoping that Cameron gets a ride here soon. But for a fan of the sport, guys, you got to love these new cars that are going to be coming in GT. I'm kind of foaming at the mouth. One, it's great to see Fall Line enter that R8 for a full season of GTD, or GT Daytona. Got Charles Espinave and Charlie Putnam, an 02 favorite from a long time ago, going to be campaigning that car. TRG had probably the biggest announcement recently with the factory-back Astons. 2 cars, prepaid, full season, and approved. You also have Patrick Lindsay is my champion for this, although Andy Lally going to be driving one as well. The new GT America, basically a GT3 911 Cup car. You add paddle shifters, some body, and a few other enhancements. I want to read my notes. Patrick Lindsay says, JD, it's the best handling car I ever drove. That was session 1. So I think we're going to see 9 cars at the test, another 12 or so, I think, or 12 total out there that should be coming. And just before we run out of time here, Turner abandoning that M3. We won't see that trusty M3 and GT any longer, sporting a new Z4. That's the package. Drivers saying the balance is a little bit off, but they're loving it thus far. And last but not least, on the driver front, Buddy Kuno Whitmer took delivery of their new Viper GTSRs. They were very fast at the test, if anybody followed it, albeit all of them are complaining it looks like a Viper, doesn't drive anything like the old Viper. We're glad it's fast, but we hadn't yet come to grips with it. One thing I want to add on the Continental side, and maybe you guys have seen this, are y'all seeing that the word development series is popping up everywhere in all press releases? It's been here and there before, but it certainly seems to be a theme now. Bill?
Wow. Jim Daniels, Peter Keane, you're getting all the background information in leftovers from Thanksgiving. We've given you the meat to get started in the off-season racing. Jim, Peter, thank you. Right after this, Racing Insiders returns with some personal remembrances of Paul Walker, the actor, and Roger Rodas, died in a single car accident this past week. We'll be right back. It's the season of giving, so before we go to our next segment, let's talk about your investment in us and our investment in you, how we give to each other through the Racing Insiders. Go to our Indiegogo page, our crowdfunding page, and you'll get a chance to participate in gifts from our marketing partners, including GoPro cameras, fan experiences at the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship, and the Pirelli World Challenge. This is with the Mazda Owners Group, iRacing memberships, and gifts from TrackMate. There's many more there. So go to theracinginsiders.com/Indiegogo. Participate in an investment in your favorite sports car racing show.
This segment of the Racing Insiders was brought to you by GoRacingTV.com. For racers, by racers. Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Go on a high-speed ride with the Racing Insiders, the world's only weekly look at sports car racing. The biggest names, the biggest events, the biggest headlines, every week on the Racing Insiders. From a modest start, the Racing Insiders has grown into a global presence through passion, hard work, aggressive drive, an award-winning host, and the greatest minds in sports car racing. Now, the Racing Insiders is expanding, and you can get on board. Take part in our funding effort at Indiegogo. Valuable rewards from our partners are there for your support at Indiegogo.com. The Racing Insiders. Consider an investment in exclusive sports car racing excitement every week. Get behind the wheel, drive exclusive racing content you want and can't find anywhere else. The Racing Insiders. Make an investment in your passion.
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders. had some personal remembrances now of a tragic accident. It took the lives of actor Paul Walker and businessman Roger Rodas. I had a chance to my personal memories of meeting Paul Walker at a Red Line Time Attack event a couple of years ago. We had a chance to have a conversation, and he told me about how passionate he is about getting behind the wheel and actually driving himself. Here's Paul Walker. 70,000 people are going to see you instead of maybe 70.
My skill set, right? I'm an enthusiast. I love racing cars, and I've been going to track events and hanging out on the weekends and putting in lap times for a handful of years now.
Before Paul Walker was Paul Walker, you were out there dabbling in the car stuff.
Exactly. Well, my grandfather raced cars. Right? I wanted to be like my grandpa. My grandpa raced Ford Falcons in the '60s and just destroyed the San Fernando Valley. Back when the San Fernando Valley was really an epicenter for racing. And obviously they shut down all those tracks. But yeah, he was the first to break a 160-mile-an-hour barrier. That's what I was told, anyways, by my mom in a Ford Falcon. And he owned a transmission shop in the valley, in the San Fernando Valley. And yeah, he was the Ford guy. And
been spending a few minutes with actor Paul Walker, driver this weekend at the Red Line Time Attack. Are you going to do more than this one event? Is this something that's just close to you, or are you going to travel around and do as many as your schedule allows?
Yeah, I'm committed to this season. So, naturally there's going to be some work here coming up. And, it's going to be a matter of racing an airplane and, and then ripping to the track. And, no, my goal is to make every race this season.
I did have a chance to see the man drive, and it wasn't just a celebrity thing. He really was passionate about being behind the wheel, and his times reflected that. It wasn't just a chance to show off and say, I'm the celebrity, come look at me. He really was passionate about driving, got faster with the laps, took to coaching, and much like an actor, I would guess, he took direction really well and became very fast. In fact, Jeff, you had a chance to learn that firsthand. You were going to be a part of a program with him, right?
Yeah, actually in 2010, I was the race director for the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill, and he was driving for the first time with Roger Rodas, Jeff Westphal, and Tyler McQuarrie. And, he didn't really have his racing license yet. He had his time attack license, so it was kind of a special concession I had to make to let him race in the 25-hour race. Didn't let him race over the overnight shift, but still let him race during the day. And he was fast right out of the box, did a really good job. And we were actually going to race this year with Roger, Eric Davis, Jeff Westphal in the 25-hour. That fell through about a month ago due to his filming commitments, so we weren't able to put that deal together, but he was going to contest a 25-hour again.
Wait, Jeff,
really
wait a minute. You said you were going to race with him, is that right?
Yes.
Wow. So
yeah,
it's very personal, yeah.
Yeah, we had started talking about racing together in Toronto at the Toronto World Challenge race with Roger and Eric Davis, the always evolving drivers that race the two Mustangs in the Pro World Challenge, and trying to get a deal put together for the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill. Unfortunately, that deal fell through when Paul had filming commitments, so not able to race with them this year. Was really looking forward to that and racing with Roger as well. And Roger did 10 races in the World Challenge this year. Was really excited. Came to Sonoma near the end of the round in Houston just so he could try to clinch that Rookie of the Year against Jim Taggart. Unfortunately, Jim got the better of him, but it would have been nice to see Eric get that.
Jim, you have some personal memories of Roger in particular, right?
Yeah, I do. First of all, with Paul, back in '04, I took my kids scuba diving down at Nassau, and we have a good friend at Stewart's Cove that everybody in the world travels to, and Paul was there. They were filming a movie called Into the Blue with Jessica Alba. We actually shared some tanks, I guess you could say, with my kids. It's quite a thrill for them. But on Roger's front, a lot of people don't know Roger's one of the top wealth advisors in the country. He's been decorated for that and won awards. That's his claim to fame. He owns a recycling plant in his home country, a philanthropist, just a super guy. But more importantly, or as importantly to the race enthusiasts, he's instrumental in bringing the street tuner market mainstream. I can't tell you the accolades that he should be attributed to. I admired the man very much as an armchair stock trader and money manager personal, and as a racing enthusiast, and then to see him in the Mustangs. Of course, my involvement with that over the years. It's just sad to see him go, sad to see Paul go. Bill?
In case, I'm sure everybody realizes, and you've probably seen the work of Paul Walker, but he did work in the Fast and Furious series and did a lot of the driving himself. He wasn't allowed to drive in some scenes because of the insurance in the film, he told me. But he did say that Tyler McQuarrie did a lot of the driving for him in some of the scenes, and he had one other guy whose name escapes me at the moment, who was personal friends with. It was a stunt man who doubled for him in the film. So he was a driver. And he, just like Patrick Dempsey, he wasn't just a celebrity, he was a driver, someone who wanted to be good at the craft. It's really sad to see the two of them, two drivers, two passionate men, to see them go. To you who watch regularly, understand this isn't a Formula One show. We don't make any preconceptions about that. But when you get a chance to talk to arguably one of the best drivers in history, Michael Schumacher, you take that chance. Here he talks about the Formula One program at Mercedes and what Michael Schumacher is doing in his retirement. Here's the Michael Schumacher.
Well, I mean, it's a great result, particularly if you consider where we're coming from. Last year, I mean, we've been absolutely nowhere by the end of the year, and nobody could have expected to be fighting even at part of the season for the championship. So they did. I mean, they had a great start of the year, and they even were able to sort of push through the year quite hard until a point that they understood, okay, here we are at the end of the championship for us, so it's better to focus on to 2014. And so we did in the past. The infrastructure now is in place. Since quite a while, Ross Brawn decided to have the right amount of people in the right position, and everything now is there to have the base to fight the championship in the future. And that's what I think can happen. And anyway, congratulations for the second position. Well, I think you shouldn't expect too many changes because of the engine. Aerodynamics always outplayed the engine, and it will always be in future. So the better car, the better package in the end will win. Yes, if you have two identical package, then the better engine might play a difference. And we know that Mercedes has always been on the top side, on the engine side. I mean, Formula One is certainly the highlight of motorsport, and it's great to drive a car. Absolutely, yes. And I enjoyed when I've been in Nürburgring to drive the car, to have a bit of fun, but to do it seriously, no. I'm tired of this one, and that's why I decided so, because Mercedes gave me the option to continue for the future, and I didn't really fancy it, and I have arrived in my new life, and that's very nice. I mean, even if you go back after the first time I retired, I didn't really miss it because I have so many other pleasureful things to do. So it's a good life. Well, I'm looking after young drivers in the go-kart area. I've always been close to the go-kart scene. I have a friend that he builds go-karts. I do actually test drives and development for him. Yeah, karting is a fascinating world that I still love to be involved in. And I always see young kids and they come along, and so I give them my point of view, and they appreciate that.
What a phenomenal driver, 7 world championships. Who knows if Sebastian Vettel might approach some of that record. Let's hope he does for the competition. But being a Michael Schumacher fan, I don't know if I want Vettel taking some of his luster away. On the calendar this week, the racing season is still going on. The NASA 25 Hours at Thunderhill will be this coming weekend. It's become a significant event. A lot of teams are using it as a test session to get ready for the upcoming season. Jeff, what's going on with the event?
Well, you know, it's only an hour from my house at Thunderhill Raceway. Looking forward to it. I have a 3-time class winner in that. A lot of great cars, a lot of great teams. 76 entries right now. We'll see how many actually get to show up, but it's pretty cool racing 25 hours from 11 o'clock in the morning Saturday to noon on Sunday.
Jim?
Same thing. We got 2 Mazda 6s that are diesel powered, Sky Active, brand new cars built for that 24-hour race. I'm on the hook for suspension setup and handling for the driver's calls that come from Robert Daber Racing. And next weekend to be down at Palm Beach testing the prototype lights from a new gig. Peter?
That's why I'm just getting my car ready for the January Nationals, and I'll be tuning into the 25 Hours at Thunderhill.
You see, when we talk about the racing insiders, we give you the inside. Team owners, team drivers, guys preparing cars, that's the racing insiders. For Jeff Lepper in Folsom, California, Jim Daniels in Memphis, Tennessee, and Peter Keane in Cocoa Beach, Florida, I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Want to see you next week. Until then, take care of each other, respect each other. Peace.